is going to be good. Woo!
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host, Robert A. Enos, coming to you from beautiful Lancaster, California. I'm also the lead apostle of Greater Works Christian Church. I usually start these podcasts saying your favorite apostle. So I guess I'm still your favorite apostle. Anyways, earlier today, my wife and I was with some other people, but we were at Law Day 2026 here in Lancaster, honoring the law enforcement in our community. That's the Palmdale, Lancaster area, LA area. And so the name of this event was Rule of Law and the American Dream. And I must say it was very, very, very encouraging on many levels to see and to hear about our great law enforcement officers in all their departments. We heard about LAPD. We heard and met and heard about our Lancaster Sheriff's Department. We also heard and was able to connect with our Lancaster Police Force and the California Highway Patrol. Anyways, all doing great jobs. Always putting their life on the line and doing a great job, doing their best, what they can do, what the law allows to keep us safe. So I appreciate them. My hat goes off. I don't have a hat right now, but my hat goes off to law enforcement, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Today, though, that's not what I really want to talk about, even though I could talk about it, and maybe I will do an episode soon about our law enforcement. Maybe I could even bring some of them here, and we could do a podcast together. But nonetheless, I want to talk about... I'm sorry. Hopefully I can remember to put this picture up on the into the video so you can see this. But let me just show you that this is from the internet. Internet, where is that? You can see that. That's a little caricature of James Carville. I want to talk about James Carville. If you don't know who James Carville is, he's, as it says here in this article, he's 80 years old. Now, when did this come out? So that was last year. So he's 81 years old now. 81 years old. He is a political strategist, consultant for the Democrat Party. And this guy, if you've ever want to see an unhinged liberal Democrat, just find some clips about James Carville. We're going to talk about some here, but just find some James Carville clips and hear him. This guy is, he's not healthy, ladies and gentlemen. Now, you might say, well, he's 81 years old. Maybe he's not healthy. Maybe he's dealing with some dementia or Alzheimer's or some type of issue like that. Ladies and gentlemen, if you find a current clip and you see him going crazy, don't just pass it off like, oh, because he's older now, maybe this is an issue. That's not necessarily the case with James Carville, because he's always been this way. I remember way back in the day when Rush Limbaugh, and this goes back to the Clinton era, and Rush Limbaugh would talk about Clinton, and he'd talk often about James Carville, because James Carville, even back then, was unhinged, and he was a major strategist and consultant for the Democrat Party, especially at the time, Bill Clinton. So if you find some clips of him now, a little unhinged and crazy, that's nothing new for James Carville. So I just wanted to give a little backstory, not much, of course, about who James Carville is, because a lot of the younger people don't even know who he is. But I want to read this. Now, this article is from laprogressive.com. That's Los Angeles. So it's the website is laprogressive.com. It's a very left-leaning Democrat progressive information. I don't want to call it news. Propaganda maybe is better website. And now this is from their website. This is Carville's own people writing this. That's why I chose this. Normally, I don't even look at this nonsense, but it caught my attention when I saw who was posting this, writing this about James Carville. And so it says this: James Carville helped silence the working class. It's time to bury his playbook. Now, again, keep this in mind. This particular article that I'm starting with, with the character, the cartoon of Carville getting all mad and cursing and cussing and everything, this comes from a very left-leaning, Democrat, left-leaning news. It's not really a news source. I call it a propaganda source, but nonetheless. And it's written by Carolina Ampudia. Hopefully I'm saying that, Ampudia. And this actually was, the original article came out May 5th, 2025. So almost a year ago to the day. Today, right now, is May 1st. So just 4 days shy of 1 full year. And it was updated May 10th, 2025. So 5 days later after it came out. So just a few days short of 1 year, this was being written about James Carville. This isn't brand new. It's fairly new, but not brand new. So Carolina Ampudia, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but close enough, writes this. Now, again, I'm not going to read the whole article. I'm just going to touch upon some highlights that I found interesting and even somewhat funny, given the modern state of the Democrat Party. See, because, ladies and gentlemen, the reason I'm doing this is because a lot of people, now please don't misunderstand, we cannot back down, ladies and gentlemen. We've got to rise up. Conservatives out there, you've got to rise up. Before I get into this and say any more, you know what I found out? We just had some local elections here in our city, literally in April. So we're only 1 day into May. So earlier this month, or earlier last month, I should say, we had some local elections. And only about 8 to 9% of all the registered voters in our city, just in our city, only 8 to 9% voted. 8 to 9% of all the registered voters in our city voted for these local elections. So for only 8 to 9% cared enough to vote for the very people that have the most immediate impact on their life and on their world. That blew my mind when I found that out. Because it's easy to come up with that number because they have to post the results of the election, how many the candidates, how many votes they got. So all I got to do is tally up all the votes and see the overall number, and then compare that to how many live in this city that are actually registered to vote. 8 to 9%, ladies and gentlemen. Do you know how embarrassing that is? Now, I'm going to speak directly to the conservatives, but more importantly to the Christians. And every Christian should be conservative, because you can't be a Christian and a left-leaner, a liberal, because their policies are so anti-Christ in nature, anti-biblical, anti-Christ, anti-righteous, anti-holy. So there you got it. You Christians, you conservatives, you Christians, should be the same thing, but you Christians, you conservatives, if you're not voting, not just in the local elections, but all elections, that should not have been the case. 8 to 9% of the overall registered voters in our city voted. Christians, conservatives, if you're not voting, you are failing. You are failing our city, failing our state, failing our nation, failing your neighbors, and you're failing our God. God gave us this nation, and he asked us to steward it. Part of stewarding the nation that God gave us is to have free and open elections and to do our due diligence, to take that piece of paper, that document that we write or scribble or blacken the dot, however it is, and turn it in. In other words, it's our duty as conservatives and as Christians to vote. If you're not doing that, shame on you. I say that to all all Americans, all citizens, but especially you conservatives, especially you Christians. I hear Christians complain we're losing our country. Well, of course we are, when most Christians don't vote. Conservatives, people are more conservative minded. We're losing our country. We're losing it to the liberalism and to the wacko left. Of course we are. You're not out there voting. It's your fault. If America goes under, it's because the conservatives and the Christians, should be the same thing, are not voting the way we should. Just not enough of us out there voting. And so those of you who do vote, and thank you, I appreciate you more than you. I'm serious about this. 2 thumbs up, you are doing a great job if you're voting conservative, voting Christian values. But I'm going to ask you to do something. Take it just a step further. You know, your neighbors, your friends, your family, church members, club members who are conservative in their viewpoints, Christian in their viewpoints and worldview, but aren't voting. Round them up and say, no, we're going to go vote. Or because, hey, the Dems push this. We can do mail-in ballots now. We can do even ballot harvesting. You call all your friends and your family and your neighbors and say, listen, I'm going to come to your house. Just take a day, after the ballots drop, and say, hey, Jojo, hey, Francisco, hey, Frederico, I'm swinging by your house to pick up your ballot. So fill it out now. And when you get there, if they haven't filled it out, stand there until they fill it out and hand it to you, and you take that in on their behalf. One way or another, we're going to have to take our nation back. And it's through voting is the best way that we can take our nation back. And when so few of us vote, no wonder we're losing our nation to the wackos and the weirdos. Anyways, to the James Carvilles. Anyways, let me read this. I didn't even start the article part of it yet. So Carville helped. It says James Carville helped silence the working class. It's time to bury his playbook. That's the title. And it starts, his era hollowed out the party of labor. Now, Carolina, you know what? Democrat policies for years and years and years and years and years, even before Carville, were against the working class. But I'm going to just take a few moments to let your delusion take shape for just a moment. All right, so I'm going to entertain your delusion for just a minute, Carolina, because even though you're already wrong in one way, you're so right when it comes to James Carville. I think I'm hungry because I keep wanting to call him Caramel. Anyways, his era hollowed out the party of labor, repackaged it for corporate donors, and told working class communities to be patient while their jobs were offshored. So right. It's the Democrat Party primarily. I'm not saying only. There's a lot of Republicans that need to answer to this as well. But so many jobs went overseas, went off to Mexico, went off to China. I mean, you can't hardly find anything, we purchase something that doesn't say made in China. I mean, you can. I'm just saying that collectively, if I were to look around and just pick up anything in this office, for the most part, except maybe some of my books, made in China, printed in China, made in China. I have, now, you see this? It's an American flag bandana. American flag, right? Now, where is it? Now, maybe you can see this. I'm going to hold it up, and hopefully you can see this. Hopefully I'm not holding it backwards, but look at this. It says 100% cotton. I like that. Made in China. Now, I purchased this because I saw it, and I said, hey, that's a really cool bandana. I want that. I didn't realize it was made in China. Otherwise, I probably would not have purchased it. I have a, over here behind me, I went to the local Lowe's to purchase some American flags. And I bought 6 American flags. And all of them says made in the USA. Thank you, Jesus. I mean, so even now I bought American, and when it comes to that, if, like I said, if I had seen this on this bandana, I would never have purchased it, because it's just, how do we, things that are truly American, like our own flag, made in China, a communist country? I mean, don't get me wrong. I am not this purist. I mean, if there's something, like I don't know, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but I got this little cup here. Doesn't say where it was made. This little cup, right? Now, if I find out this is made in China, it's not going to bother me too much. It'll bother me because it should be made in America, but it won't bother me as much as if I purchase an American flag, even if it's a bandana and it says made in China. That's just ridiculous to me. So anyways, that first portion, Carolina Ampudia is so correct. Primarily, not only, I'm not going to throw all the Democrats under the bus on this only, because a lot of Republicans are just as guilty, but we have so many American jobs that are now overseas, and it shouldn't be that way. Anyways, so it says James Carville, is 80 years old. He's been shaping Democrat Party strategy since the 1970s. Do you think the guy just needs to go retire somewhere? I'm serious. He really does. And for 5 decades, he's played a central role in one of the most devastating political shifts in modern U.S. history, the quiet, calculated massacre of the working class voice inside the Democrat Party. So this young lady, Carolina Ampudia, is blaming Carville, and not just Carville, but that era of destroying the working class voice in the Democrat Party. And I'd have to say I agree. She's right on with that. Why? It's like, well, no, that was the Republicans. Republicans didn't destroy the voice inside the Democrat Party because they're not inside the Democrat Party to destroy it. But Carville is. He's one of the major strategists for the Democrat Party since the 70s, ladies and gentlemen. Let me go on. Now in 2025, again, that's when this was written about a year ago, he's out there mocking Bernie Sanders. So one of their own is mocking their own. But, Bernie is worthy of some mocking. So anyways, in 25, Carville, is out there mocking Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Now, the reason I laugh, otherwise known as AOC, is because both Bernie and AOC, they do so much and say so much that is so ridiculous that they have earned being mocked, even from members of their own party. But nonetheless, when you're in the party and a major strategist is openly mocking two of the, the front runner Democrats in their silly, nonsense, foolish ideologies, that's a big problem. That is a big problem. That shows you a huge rift and a major division in the Democrat Party, which Republicans, take note of this. Don't just sit by and watch it and hope it gets worse. Take advantage of this. And as I walk you through this, you'll understand strategies can be developed to grab hold of the Democrats who are so disillusioned with their own party because of all the infighting and the crazy, crazy nonsense in the party. Excuse me, let me just get a quick drink here because I have a feeling I'm going to be talking a lot. He goes on to say, win a Republican seat, then talk to me. That's where part of the mocking comes from. Go win a Republican seat, then talk to me. That's not just smug, it's delusional. And worse, it shows how deeply disconnected the party's old guard is from the people it claims to represent. So basically what you have is the old school 1970s-ish, 1980s-ish Democrats kind of fighting with the new present, very progressive, very liberal, very perverted, very sick, very disgusting. I mean, all Democrats are, but the new breed of Democrats are sick and disgusting, beyond imagination. So you have this new class fighting with the old class, okay? Goes on to say, let's be clear. Carville helped design the machine that locked everyday people out of power. His era hollowed out the party of labor, repackaged it for corporate donors, and told working class communities to be patient while their jobs were offshored, their unions were broken, and their basic needs were turned into bargaining chips. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you have heard many of my episodes, my podcasts. You'll know that I'm not real big on unions. Here's one of the things that's a problem when I say that. I have a lot of union people that get so mad at me. And I'm not after your typical worker, construction worker who's union, or some laborer who's union, or teacher who is union. I'm not against the worker. I'm against the union. Okay? And that's where a lot of the union workers misunderstand me when I say I'm totally against the union. See, because I look at the individual, again, whether it be a teacher, a nurse, a construction worker, a laborer, and I say, you guys have what it takes. You have the potential to really make and do something great with your life. You don't need a union fighting for you, because your qualifications, your hard work, what you bring to the table speaks loud enough for you. And for those who think or feel they need a union to speak for them, then maybe they're not as hardworking or as innovative as the others. Because if their hard work doesn't speak for them, then of course they're going to need a union behind them. How can you tell really how good a worker is and you can really tell their value? Who speaks for them? Does their work speak for them, or does the union speak for them? If their work and their productivity speaks for them, they're great workers. If a union has to speak for them, they're not so good at workers. It's just the truth, ladies and gentlemen. You can argue with that all day long, but it's just the truth. If you're really worth your salt, you won't need a union to speak for you. If you're not really worth your salt, then you probably need a union speaking for you. And if that's the case, you're not really worth what you're demanding from your employer. It's just the truth. Anyways, but that's a freebie, ladies and gentlemen. That's a free one. Maybe we'll do a whole podcast on why this brilliant brain doesn't really like unions. Okay, where was I? Oh, yeah. I read page 1. Let's go on there. Oh, the very top. Here's a quote from the writer of this article. Cynthia says, he didn't just lose touch. He was never on our side. Ooh, so the Democrat strategist from the 1970s, James Carville, who helped Clinton get into power, says this about him. He didn't just lose touch. He was never on our side. She, as a modern, progressive, liberal Democrat, doesn't even think James Carville was really on their side. Wow. Now, to many people say, well, so what? You please think about this. When one of the major strategists in the Democrat Party since the 70s is being schooled by a liberal, left-leaning Democrat of today, a progressive of today, in this manner, saying he was never on our side, that tells you just how deep and how wide and how far the rift is in the Democrat Party. Republicans, conservatives, normal people, normal people, listen to this. We have an opportunity being hand-delivered to us by the Democrat Party, where we can grab hold of the hearts and the minds of people, especially those Democrats that vote Democrat just because, well, my family's been Democrat. My mama votes Democrat. Grandma votes Democrat. Now we can speak into their lives and say, wait a minute. Have you ever stopped thinking, look at, you got Carville on one side. You got these progressive liberals, Bernie Sanders, AOC, and now this Cynthia, I can't remember, Ampudia, on the other side, and they're at each other's throat. They're bashing one another. They're speaking badly. And don't get me wrong. I know this. I know this enough about the liberals that they don't really care about policies. The everyday liberal, at the end of the day, when it's come times to vote, they're going to have a plan and a strategy. We've got to break up that plan. We've got to break up that strategy. Conservatives, regardless if you're a stay-at-home mom, which is not bad. Please don't misunderstand. We need more stay-at-home moms that are raising up their children to be good, solid, strong conservatives instead of turning them over to the indoctrination centers we call public schools. So if you're a stay-at-home mom, all the way up to a public speaker, and especially for you pastors and church leaders, don't let us down this time. Do not let us down. Come up with a strategy. Get your people registered to vote and train them to vote conservative. Public speakers, those of you conservative teachers and administrators, teach everyone around you, especially if they're at voting age, the kids in voting age and above. Get them registered and teach them why it's so important to vote conservative, a conservative ticket. Now, I say that, and I can't think of any non-Republican that's conservative. I mean, maybe they're out there, but hey, So, anyways, let's get back to this. I know I tried to take a drink and my cap was on. It goes on to say, Carville wants to talk about electoral strategy. Fine, let's talk numbers. The Fighting the Oligarchy tour, led by Bernie and AOC, has drawn over 177,000 people in just 19 cities. These aren't coastal elites or curated donors. These are working people showing up, many for the first time in their lives. Did you catch that, ladies and gentlemen? 177,000 that AOC and Bernie Sanders spoke into their lives. And some of them, most of them were for the first time at an event like this. We have to pick up on this and tell these people, these 177,000 and more, the truth. It's not hard to show how crazy Bernie Sanders is. It's and it's certainly not hard to show how crazy AOC is. And it's certainly, oh my gosh, not hard to show how crazy James Carville is. And it's certainly right now not difficult to show the rift and the infighting in the Democrat Party. Because, I mean, let's face it, what's one of the biggest problems in the Democrat Party right now? Trump derangement syndrome. It just is. And we're going to see that in just a moment. But let me go on. We have to jump on this and bridge the gap and bring these people to the right side of the force. Come to the right side of the force, Luke. Come on. Let's go. Anyways. It says, Carville can't see the energy because he's too invested in a broken status quo. His generation of consultants keep pushing the party to chase moderate Republicans, as if that's where the future is. But every time Democrats shift right to pick up a mythical middle, they don't just lose votes, they lose their identity. They lose their identity, she writes. They lose their identity. So apparently their identity, according to this writer, Cynthia, what's her name? Their identity is so left that it makes James Carville look like a conservative, or at least a moderate conservative? This, again, this is a beautiful picture. We're reading this. This isn't just the frustration of this writer pointing out her own frustration and hers alone. This is pointing out such a huge rift and an opportunity for the conservatives to jump on. Oh my goodness. Anyways, let me finish this portion. Carville may still think this is his party, but it isn't. Do you catch that? There's so much infighting right now in the Democrat Party. You may not see it when they're on the stage together. You may not see it when they're in front of the camera, and you certainly don't see it when it comes time to vote. But behind closed doors, there is so much infighting and so much rift and so much destruction that it's there, and we need to seize this moment. Conservatives, we need to seize this moment. Republicans, we need to seize this moment, Americans, because we're fighting an un-American force in the United States of America. Homegrown nut jobs, communists, socialists, wackos. We need to fight against it. We need to seize this opportunity, because I'm going to show you in just a moment that this country is far more conservative than most people think or realize. It's just a lot of these conservatives have been lied to. Lied to from the left, such people as James Carville and this Cynthia, whatever her name is. But on the right, on the conservative side, we have done a horrible job at presenting the realities of the conservative party, the conservative movement, and the conservative ideology. We too need to embrace not a new message, but we need to give our message an overhaul so we can present it in such a way that people understand it and go, yes, that's who I really am. Where is it? We are a party. We are the party now if it survives at all. We are the party now. So this younger, very, very left, progressive, left-leaner says, we are the party now if it survives at all. Think about this. People in the know in the Democrat Party are wondering if the party is going to survive at all. What an opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. And it's only gotten worse, what we've seen. You see, have you noticed that the left is working so hard to demonize President Trump? They always have. But it seems like now they are working overtime. They're putting in extra hours to try to demonize all Republicans, especially those at the top, starting at President Trump. But they are working overtime. Ladies and gentlemen, there's not enough of us in the middle and at grassroots standing up for not just Trump the man, but his message, his ideology, and what he's pushing, what he's trying to do. Because he's still working hard for all of us and doing a great job of it himself. But why does it have to be only himself? Don't worry about what the left thinks about it. They hate you anyways. Don't worry about what these people who don't understand Trump think about you. They already hate you anyways. Stand on truth. Because there's a lot of people out there that the only voices that they have heard are from the left. Whether they be the Carville generation or this Cynthia, what's her name? Ampudia generation. That's all the voices that many of them hear. So they say, okay, I guess so, because that's all I'm hearing. It's time for us everywhere, around the water cooler at work, in the classrooms, in our churches, everywhere to start speaking about truth. And for those of you who haven't been voting, shame on you. Now, this is one of my own notes that I put down here at the bottom. Oh, let me read this again from the article. Carville can either get out of the way or be remembered as the architect of the betrayal we rose to defeat. So they're trying to rise up to defeat Carville and his mentality and ideology in The party. This isn't conservative coming after a Democrat. Okay, this is Democrats coming after Democrats. All right, so this is what I wrote. This is what many in the Democrat Party think of crazy Carville. And neither has a clue. Neither side really has a clue. The old guard, the Carvillites, nor the far left wackos, both are delusional at best. We have to seize this opportunities, ladies and gentlemen, fellow conservatives, fellow Republicans. We have to seize this opportunity and jump on it and change hearts and minds by simply bringing them the truth, speaking to them about conservative values and the value of conservative values. Here's another one. Okay, and this one is from MSN.com. MSN.com. I believe that's Microsoft Network. I mean, is that what it stands for? MSN? Microsoft Network? It doesn't matter. MSN.com, which is, again, somewhat left-leaning. And it says this. Here's the title of this article. Clip of James Carville saying he wants Trump to suffer resurfaces following assassination attempt. This is by Nick Givas, Givas, and it says it was written 4 days ago. So either on or around, I'm assuming, because it didn't give the actual date, so I'm assuming about Monday, April 27th, 2026, because it said just this was published 4 days ago. Anyways, former CNN commentator and Bill Clinton strategist James Carville made some disgusting comments about wanting to see President Trump suffer in a clip that resurfaced following an attempt on the commander-in-chief's life. Conservative actor, so this is conservative actor James Woods, not Carville, but James Woods, posted the video on social media site X, writing, if hate had a face, and I'm going to do my best to get these pictures up there, but if hate had a face. Now, Carville said this, I want to be clear on this. I do not want that man to die. I want to watch him suffer, Carville said of Trump. And I can't watch a dead person suffer. I want him to be fully cognizant come November when people tell him. He wants Trump to suffer, and he wants to watch him suffer. That's why he doesn't want him to die. He just wants him to suffer. I know what he's going to say. I didn't mean physically suffer like being tortured. I mean like that mental anguish, that mental suffering when you realize you just lost. That's what he's going to say. That's what he's going to allude to. But when you say this, ladies and gentlemen, when you say this, people like this latest assassin or attempted assassin, wannabe assassin, pick up and hear those types of things, and then they go out and they try to kill Trump. Anyways. Let me go on. The video was reportedly made before the White House Correspondents' Dinner shooting where Trump and other top officials were targeted for assassination. This is the kind of sick and twisted rhetoric that the left always claims to be against, unless it's Trump. They always are against the violent rhetoric. You hear them, they use that word, the violent rhetoric or the rhetoric, the divisive rhetoric, the murderous rhetoric. And yet they're the ones doing it. So I want you to think about this. James Carville says, I want to be clear on this. I do not want that man, speaking of Trump, to die. I want to watch him suffer, Carville said of Trump, and I can't watch a dead person suffer. I want him to be fully cognizant come November when people tell him. So he's saying, I want to watch Trump suffer. I don't want him dead. I just want him to suffer. He says this. He says this before this guy tries to kill President Trump at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Could it be that this nut received his marching orders from Carville? Could it be that this guy came across this video of Carville saying, I want to see him suffer? Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. James Carville, sir. Yes, I will help you bring that about. I'm going to go assassinate him. But I'm going to shoot him somewhere where he'll have to bleed out and suffer. I'm going to do that. Could it be, ladies and gentlemen, that James Carville, could it be, I'm only speculating, but could it be James Carville and all these other Democrat leaders that are calling for violence, death, destruction, calling for violence against Trump and his cabinet and his family? Could it be that they absolutely know? Could it be, I'm speculating, that they know that there are people in their very own party that are so mentally ill that all they're waiting for is one of their leaders, such as Carville, Maxine Waters, Aunt Nancy, or any one of them, to say something like this: I want to watch him suffer. Yes, sir, I'll go do it, sir. I'll go do it. I'll make it happen, Auntie Nancy, Maxie Waxy. I'll go do it. I will go do it. I'm going to make him suffer for you. Thank you for giving me marching orders. Now my life is complete. Oy, do you think that they could be waiting for something like this? You know, I don't think that. I know that because there are some people so mentally ill, sick and twisted, and most, I'm not going to say all, but most all of them are in the Democrat Party and followers of these left-leaning lunatics. And all they're doing is waiting for something like that to hit them. And I'm going to use a word my wife hates. They get triggered. And then out of being triggered, what do? They grab some guns. They'll even travel halfway across the country and try to gun down our president and his cabinet. Why? Because they're receiving their marching orders from these lunatic leaders in the Democrat Party. And let's face it, by now, we all know that this is happening. We all know there's our sickos out there in the world, just in general, that all we have to say is something is from that position and place of leadership, and they're willing to carry out that kind of violence against other people. And now President Trump. This is ridiculous. There's more to this article. Please find it, MSN. Let me read that title again just so you can find it. MSN.com. Clip of James Carville saying he wants Trump to suffer resurfaces following assassination attempt. Now, I want to get to this because I want to encourage you Democrats now. I want to encourage you Democrats because it doesn't matter the party. There's some people in the parties, Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever, that they vote that way and they hold those cards. Card-carrying Democrat, card-carrying Republican, card-carrying Independent, but they hold those cards because, well, that's the neighborhood I live in. That's the community I'm in. That's, the union tells me I have to order or vote this way. My mom and dad tell me I have to vote this way. My aunties, my grandparents, they all voted this way. And this is especially big in, say, places like New York, over on the East Coast. There's whole entire communities and families that vote Democrat just because they're all supposed to. They don't even know what they're voting for most of the time. And people that vote, it doesn't matter if they're voting Republican or voting Democrat. If they're in that setting, like, oh, my whole family's been Democrat, then you don't even really know what the Democrats stand for. And if you do and you're still voting for them, shame on you. And I would say that for the Republicans as well. If you vote Republican just because mama and daddy and granny and auntie vote that way and you don't know what they stand for, shame on you. Figure it out. Go read. Go study. Just do a comparison between the Republicans and the Democrats so you won't be an uneducated voter, but you'll be an educated voter. Now, I went to Perplexity just for some information. I was just curious. And this is where I started coming up with all of this. I put in there Democrats who switched parties. Give me a list of Democrats who switched from the Democrat Party to the Republican, or any party, but switched parties. Politicians, I should say. It's not going to give me a list of private people, but politicians. And it shot out a list of 22 Democrats that switched mostly to Republican, but out of the 22, there's one independent. Yeah, one independent. So 21 in this list switched from Democrat to Republican, and one to independent. And this only goes back to 2021, because I asked it in the last 5 years. So 22, and there are state representatives. I think there was a mayor of Dallas, Texas, Eric Johnson in 2023, switched, but 22 switched from the Democrats to Republican Party, except for one switched to, and that was Joe Manchin, a U.S. Senator of West Virginia, switched from Democrat to Independent. I don't want to take the time to read all of them, but again, from 2021, 2022, 23, 24, 25, and 1 in 26, L. Cochran, Hawaii State Representative, switched from Democrat to Republican. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, Hawaii has been run by Democrats for so long. It's so left-leaning. It's so liberal. That's a miracle. All of these are miracles, but that one from Hawaii, L-E-L-L-E, Cochran, L-L-E, Cochran, Hawaii State Representative, from Democrat to Republican. Phenomenal, ladies and gentlemen. Phenomenal. So I asked it some more questions. It got a little bit more pointed. And I asked, give me a full list, because it told me at that time, well, this is not a full list, but these are more of the, I guess those that made the news more than anybody else. So I asked for a more comprehensive list. And this is what I shot out. The 89 state Democrat figures refers to all Democratic state lawmakers who have switched to the GOP since 1994. So 89. It didn't give me all their names, but 89 Democrats switched to the GOP, or they became Republicans since 1994, with a notable cluster of those switches occurring in the early 2020s, rather than all 89 happening since 2021. So it gave me a little bit deeper or a more comprehensive list, 89 in total, but a huge portion of that, a cluster as it says, switched since the early 2020s. Okay, so not all of them, but it did give. It says, what has driven the recent wave? I don't want to read it word for word, only for time, ladies and gentlemen. But it says red states. The bullet point, red states getting redder, minority parties losing power. So a lot of the Democrats switched to Republican because they were losing, if they didn't, they would not be voted for back into power because, well, a greater expanding red state or red area means they're not going to vote Democrat. So these Democrats switched to Republicans so they can stay in office. And I think that's one of the worst reasons. That proves to you that every one of those Democrats didn't really have a value system. They didn't stand on Democrat values. They were just Democrats because up to that point, Democrats could get voted in that area. Oh, no, they're not voting for Democrats anymore here. Oh, I'm a Republican. Oh, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, and I bring this up because the other night, on Monday, few days ago, we had former Los Angeles County Sheriff Alex Villanueva was at our meeting, our AVRA meeting here at the church. He's running again for LA Sheriff, and he used to be a Democrat. Now he's a Republican. And he brought this up. I don't think anybody asked him this, but he brought this up, that the reason he shifted parties, he says it was just kind of a natural thing because I didn't really leave my party left me. Now, when he said that, it hit me. I've been hearing that a lot from Democrats that shift from Democrat to Republican. I didn't really leave the party, but the party left me. As a matter of fact, John Fetterman was floating this idea of leaving the Democrat Party, and I believe he was talking about becoming an independent, and he said very much the same thing. I didn't leave the party, or I'm not leaving the party left me. Now, I don't know if he's gone through with it yet, so I don't want to say for sure that he has, but I remember hearing him say that. There was a clip of him saying, the party left me, speaking of the Democrat. And it is, as we see that huge rift from the Carvillite Democrats to the progressive Democrats of today, huge rift. Okay? I'm not saying, well, neither of them are right, but you get my point. Huge rift. So red states getting redder, minority parties losing power is one of the reasons many of the Democrats are leaving the Democrat Party, the politicians, and becoming either Republicans or independents. Another reason, ideological distance from the National Democrat brand. Ideological distance from the National Democrat brand, because the National Democrat brand is becoming more and more and more loony progressive. So some of these guys that are saying, well, wait a minute, in many ways, they're more conservative in their belief system and their worldview. They say, I can't go along with the nutty, progressive, greasy nonsense that the party is getting involved in. So they become Republicans or independents. Another reason, concrete power gains for the GOP after key switches. So when there are key switches and they have this concrete power gain, well, a lot of the other Democrats go, hey, I want to be part of that. Again, it's very much associated with the very first one. Another one, broader voter realignment towards Republicans in many of the same states. Okay, so let me read this one. Voter registration data show that since Biden took office, more than 1 million voters in 43 states have moved from the Democratic to the Republican registration, especially in suburban and small city counties and in places like Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Iowa. Legislators in those places face strong pressure to match the new partisan lean of their electorates. So again, they're switching not because of any other reason. They just want to be with the winning party. Republicans, this is great news for all of us. But not news that we should just go, oh, this is great news, and then forget about it, thinking that we're just automatic to win. This is news that means we need to pick up the ball and run with it. Put some, as a friend used to say, put some scores up on, put some points up on the scoreboard. We need to make some touchdowns. We need to hit some home runs. We need to continue this momentum. It's not time to pull back. It's time to push in more and more and more. Those of you Christians, those of you conservatives, you should get some voter registration guides and get your friends and your family registered to vote. Make sure it's all for Republicans and help them to vote. Get their ballots. Do some ballot harvesting. Make sure they vote and make sure they vote right. Okay? Another reason. Long-running ideological sorting. I'll read this one because that might be a little confusing, just that entry, that bullet point entry into this reason. Academic work on state legislative switchers finds that nearly all Democrats who become Republicans also move their roll call voting records rightward, suggesting that the switches are usually the culmination, not the cause, of an ideological drift that has already occurred. I believe that explains such people like John Fetterman, as well as some of these other ones, but John Fetterman, we can see that right now. He even says, like the party has left me. I didn't leave the party. The party has left me. And I can't go along with this crazy lunatic, progressive Democrat nonsense. Okay. So it's just his worldview, his ideology is no longer in alignment with that nonsense. It also showed me this. Where have the biggest shifts occurred? It asked the question. And it says, Ballotpedia's long-term tracking shows where party switching, especially Democratic to Republican, has been most common in state legislators. These totals are since 1994. But most of the recent high-profile Democratic defections have also come from these same states. So it gives you the state and the region and evidence of large or impactful Democrat to GOP or Republican shifts. Okay, Mississippi has the most. Total party switches of 20. Louisiana ranks second with 17 total switches. Georgia, third with 16 total switches. Then West Virginia, fewer total switches, but outsized impact. North Carolina, Tricia Cotham's 2023 switch transformed GOP control into a veto-proof supermajority, making North Carolina one of the clearest examples of a single Democrat switch reshaping state power. Kentucky and other southern Appalachian states. Data shows Democrat registration falling and GOP registration rising in states like Kentucky and West Virginia, with party switches by office holders tracking that broader shift. Again, this is great news, conservatives, but we can't stop. We've got to get out there. Remember, the Democrats were pushing, get out the vote, get out the vote, get out the vote. Well, Republicans, it's time for us to take a play from their playbook and get out the vote. But not just the vote. Let's get out the conservative vote. Let's start talking to our friends, talking to our neighbors, talking to our families, talking to our church groups, and get out the vote and make sure these people are registered to vote, registered Republican, and make sure they vote Republican. And then pick up their ballot. Pick up their ballot and take it with you. Don't just mail it, but take it. I mean, if you have a stack like this of all the friends and family members that you collected it from, take it in, drop it off. I know us conservatives don't like that. I want one-day paper ballots. You walk in, you do it yourself, and you walk out. And if people can't do that, then they shouldn't vote. It's that simple. But if we're forced to play by the liberal Democrats' rules, well, then let's play and do it better than they can. You want true voter reform, voting reform? Then let's win at their game. And they will want to change it. We have to get out. So, just to be fair, ladies and gentlemen, I said to myself, self, I wonder how many switches from Republican to Democrat. So I asked him, how many switches? And I asked it for 5 years, just 5 years. So it says this, according to Ballotpedia's tracking of state legislators, which includes data through 2024, 23 state lawmakers have switched from a Republican to Democrat. That's okay. We didn't need them. If they're switching, especially in this time, we didn't need them. We don't want them. Rhinos. It goes on to say, it is important to note, it didn't even give me any names or where these people were. That's why I believe this is really telling. When you ask the same question of Democrat to Republican primarily, one spits out 22, another one says 89. So that tells me something. Okay, that tells me something. But here you ask, well, what about Republican to Democrat? Well, there's 23. There's 23. And it says, It is important to note data limitations. This figure is not comprehensive as it does not capture the many local officials such as school boards, county commissioners, or city councilors who may switch party affiliations without receiving national or state level tracking. Yeah, true. Comparison. During the same track period, Ballotpedia identified 89 state lawmakers, there it is again, who switched from Democrat to Republican. In other words, the 23 doesn't even come close, ladies and gentlemen. Doesn't even come close. Context. While the number of switches from Republican to Democrat is lower, it does occur and is often driven by a variety of local political or ideological factors specific to the legislator's district. Because there are thousands of state municipal offices across the U.S., these numbers represent only a portion of the total instances of party switching that occur throughout the country. Let me tell you, and I'm going to say this, and I'll name his name only because he's running again, but there's a gentleman that is running here in locally, and his name is Steve Fox. Now, no, I am not endorsing Steve Fox at all. Steve Fox was a Democrat early on. And then he was, let me back that up. I'm sorry. He was a Republican, I believe he was. And the reason I'm confused about this a little bit is because he's a very confusing guy. He switched to Democrat, then run, and he won. So he was a Republican, switched to Democrat, ran for office, and won. It was so funny. And this is a hint, ladies and gentlemen. I saw some video clips and some pictures of him online on social media. And I was at a few events and I saw him. And I remember we were at an event. I believe we were at an event and I was watching him. Remember, Republicans switched to Democrat and then decides to run as a Democrat. Okay? And I told my wife, he's going to win. Now, we didn't want him to win. I wasn't saying that because, I want him to win. I did not want him to win. But I said he's going to win. Let me tell you why. Now, I want you conservatives, I want you Christians, and I want you Republicans to take note of this. Number one, he was everywhere. And when he was everywhere, and what did he do? He had a big smile on his face, and he greeted everybody, shook a lot of hands. You know, the old political shaking hands and kissing babies. Well, that was Steve Fox. And it was as fake as a $3 bill. I could see it all over his face. I could see it in his body language. I could see it all over him. But he kissed a lot of babies, so metaphorically, and shook a lot of hands. He would find the camera. If somebody had a camera, if there was a photographer around, or even it was just somebody with a cell phone. Where's my cell phone? Even if it was somebody with their cell phone out taking pictures, he made sure he got in front of that camera. And he took a lot of pictures, and I watched it, and I told my wife, he's going to win. Because the person he was running against at the same time wasn't doing that, at least on that level. A much better candidate, in my opinion, but wasn't out there putting in the work like Steve Fox was. Okay? Now, and then when his term was up, he lost, and somebody else took his place. Thank you, Jesus. But he didn't get it, so thank you, Jesus. But then, now I should say, he's running again as a Republican. He switched parties yet again. So what does that tell you, ladies and gentlemen? He doesn't have any real core values. He's just, which way is the wind blowing? Which way is the wind blowing? Which way is the political wind blowing? Is it blowing liberal or conservative? And so he stuck his finger out and realized that being a Democrat running in today's modern world right now in our area was not going to be so good for him. So he decided to switch again. Now he's running as a Republican fake as a $3 bill. So I am in no way telling anybody to vote for him. Please do not. He has no values. He doesn't know what he stands for. He stands for, I'm a Republican today. Oh, I'm a Democrat. Oh, I'm a Republican. What next? Green Party? So no, he's not going to get in. There's better candidates. There's much better candidates, but not him. Anyways, and that's the way a lot of this is. I'm not going to say all of it. A lot of this is. But when you see these Democrats jumping ship, and many, and not all of them, but many are saying, I didn't leave my party left me. So I found a home in the Republican Party. Especially in some of those southern states, such as Kentucky, the Appalachian states, where they're still very, very, very conservative. But they were conservative Democrat. And you had to be tucked away in these little towns because they didn't make national news at all. But then when they took a serious look at what their party has become, they say, that's not me. I stand more with and believe in the Republican ideology because the Democrat Party left me. As is proof, as this rift between the Carvillites and the progressives. And the progressives are taking over the party, And some of these older mentality or old school Democrats are saying, enough's enough. We'll jump ship and we'll go to the Republicans, which I'm saying, welcome home. Welcome home. You didn't need to be the party of hate, the party of perversion, the party of death and destruction. You didn't need to be a party of big government, fewer freedoms. Welcome home to the Republican Party, the party that is anti-slavery party, whether it be physical slavery, mental slavery, emotional slavery, or spiritual slavery. Get out of the Democrat Party, which is the party of slavery. It's just the truth, ladies and gentlemen. It's just the truth. That's what I'm here for, to bring truth to light and tell you honestly the truth. And that is that the Democrat Party is in shambles and is falling apart from within. No matter what it looks like, no matter what the panel says, no matter what it looks like at the DNC, in open, I'm telling you, the structure, the pillars of the Democrat Party are crumbling and falling apart. You'll start seeing it on the outside. If all of these 89 shifts from the Democrat Party to the Republican Party isn't proof, I don't know what is. If this article about James Carville and the progressives, what's her name? Cynthia, what's her name? I don't even remember her name. Isn't proof that the Democrat Party is falling apart. Now we need to take hold of this. We need to take advantage of this. We need to get some strategy and run with this and put some more Republicans in these positions and take our nation back. With that, ladies and gentlemen, God bless you all, and I hope that you vote red in this next election. God bless you.
I like liberals because I like nuts.